Listening to that is Maurice Mcleod, the Chief Executive of Race on the Agenda, a think tank focusing on issues affecting BAME communities. Good afternoon to you. Hearing Anusha, who's a young black woman, connecting with those words, does it bring home the fact that we're still struggling with these same issues that Martin Luther King was dealing with?
Yeah, good afternoon or good morning. Yes, it does, doesn't it? Even just listening to bits of the speech there, I mean, it was an incredible speech delivered by, someone who was very, very good at talking in that way. I've always been a bit sceptical about some of the content. I think that the reason it was popular in a mainstream way, or is popular in a mainstream way, kind of plays down a lot of what King's messages were. So the "I Have a Dream" speech, the reason it strikes a chord maybe with white listeners as well is that it does have that hope, it does have that passion, and it sort of speaks to a utopia that we can all get towards, and we all think, yeah, we'd all like to live in that world. That part we can all sort of get behind. I think that sadly is absolutely as relevant now as it was back then. Yes, so I'm glad that younger people are listening to it and being moved by it. But I think we should never forget that that was only one part of the conversation. That hopefulness was only one part of the conversation. King spoke a lot about how you get there, how you actually get to this place, of his dreams. And he was very critical of capitalism, for instance, which obviously didn't play very well with the mainstream sort of American listeners. So that sort of stuff is often played down.
Now, you've been working on tackling racism in the UK for a long time, and given the world we're in at the moment, do you think that there is a sea change happening at the moment?
It's really hard to say from where, as you say, I've been working in this field for all of my life, really, and so I'm very conscious that I'm in a bubble. I'm very conscious that I am exactly the sort of person that does hear, lots of change and hears organisations being interested in looking at their structures and all of that. So I'm aware that outside in the real world of real people, maybe there's a different narrative going on, but definitely from where I sit, there's a real hopefulness in just some of the questions that are being asked now. It feels like they weren't being asked just a few years ago. Instead of people saying, "Oh no," and some people still are saying this, obviously, but instead of people saying "there's no racism" and "get over it" and whatever, it feels like more and more people are saying, "Oh gosh, tell me about that. I feel like I've missed something. Can you get me up to speed, or what do I need to read?" That sort of stuff is really hopeful.
I mean, I think here in Northern Ireland, you wouldn't have to go back too far into our history to find a time when it would certainly seem that the conversation about race just wasn't happening at all. But that does seem to be a big topic on a lot of people's minds at the moment.
Yeah, and that's a brilliant thing. I'll as much as I am, I'm not going to sort of bathe myself in hopefulness and go, "Hey, everything's changed and we've got it. We finally got there." I'm certainly not saying that, but I think we have to embrace the fact that that these conversations are being had, and on the large part are genuine. There are big corporations, there are local authorities really looking around and going, okay, so we know that there's something that we're missing, that we're not doing right. How can we fix it? You've got to. Nothing is going to change without people wanting to change and actually starting off on that journey. So the fact that so many people are and have been, in recent months, having those conversations and asking those questions is great. So I'm not going to be the pessimist in the corner. Go, no, it's a trend. Yeah.
But I mean, to put our objective hat on for a moment, you talked about the big companies and the local authorities that are saying they're putting diversity and inclusion at the centre of what they're doing. Are they just paying lip service, or is it actually making a difference?
I think, strangely, I think it can be both. So I think that they are paying lip service. A lot of organisations, I'd say, whether they're councils or corporations, it wasn't their first fault. It wasn't something that was relevant to them. Now they realise that there's a bit of a sea change going on with the public. You know, they've seen the demonstrations, which were large and went on for a long time, much longer than I thought they would, and are still going on now. So they've seen all of that, and they know that they need to be relevant. So yes, they're paying lip service, but that lip service, you know, that those actions that they're enacting because of the lip service may well, you know, as long as if they're the right actions, will still bring about some change. You know, so I don't dismiss it, going, oh, they're just saying stuff. You know, we need to now hold them to account and make sure that these aren't just words, and that, you know, let's have a look in 6 months and see what you've done to enact some of these lofty words. Let's make sure that you are actually following through. That's the job of the activist now, I'd say.
I mean, the conversation does seem to be happening everywhere across all forms of media. Where people gather, race is something that a lot of us are talking about. But as we've been hearing, movements like Black Lives Matter have come about under the worst circumstances, and there's been a lot of violence and suffering that has brought this conversation. I mean, is that a difficult thing to accept, that there has been violence and death has led to us having this conversation?
Yeah, but sadly, if we're talking about anti-black racism, which we are, the violence and death has been there. It's been there for, you know, at least 500 years. So this isn't none of this is. Yes, the attention on poor George Floyd and on Jacob Blake and whatever, you know, the attention is on them on these cases now, maybe because of social media and because of, you know, for all these different reasons. But there's nothing new, sadly, about the death and the violence. So, you know, yes, it doesn't surprise me that it takes those incidents to really get into the public consciousness and get people thinking about it. But those incidents have always been there. You can trace back a long list of similar incidents, I'm afraid, through history.
This week, we've heard an awful lot about Rule Britannia and it being dropped and then not dropped and then slightly dropped from the BBC proms. What's your take on this?
Yeah, I mean, I have to be honest. I'm not. I think that we can get carried away maybe with the symbols. You know, I've been saying, you know, we talk about taking down statues and changing songs and whatever. You know, we want monumental change, not just a change in monuments, but with the you know, Land of Hope and Glory and Rule Britannia thing, these are what's interesting to me is, you know, I'm a football fan, I'm a Liverpool fan, and we sing songs for the players that we like. When those players move, we sing different songs. So if, you know, Land of Hope and Glory was written at a time when what we wanted to celebrate was the fact that we were conquering and we were, you know, mother of the free and all that sort of stuff. We wanted to celebrate that, the empire and all those sorts of things. If that's not our intention anymore, then why wouldn't we change the words? I don't really get it, but it's not something I'm going to get overly. If people want to sing a song on a programme that I don't even watch, then good luck to them. I don't really get it. That's all.
In your new capacity as the chief executive of Race on the Agenda, what do we all need to be doing? What is your ambition for this place?
Well, I mean, I get this a lot. So what I say to anyone saying, right, what can I do to help fight racism? You know, I'm only this or I'm only that. We all live. You know, we all live in this world. We all exist in this country. We either, you know, think about, you know, where we work, who we socialise with, how we socialise. If we all make an active effort to look at our lives and go, okay, that's something that's a problem. I have a power over that. I can change that. I do have, you know, whatever it might be. We all, you know, no one is powerless. If we all work in that direction, then I think change will be actually quicker than we're hoping. I think once there's an actual public sea change, we've seen it with other types of rights groups, with LGBT rights, for instance. Once there's a public sea change, I feel like things can move quicker than any of us are hoping. So we're all that's why. So I guess the message is we all have power. And no one should sit there thinking they're powerless. We can all look at our own lives, whether you know, professionally or socially, and think about what changes or what support or what can we do to help in this, you know, this never-ending battle, it seems.
Maurice Mcleod, it's been an absolute pleasure chatting to you this morning. Thank you so much for taking some time to join us on the programme today.